What's going on, and welcome back to Service Unavailable Podcast, True Crime Edition. I'm your host, The Gaming Savage. Unless you lived in a cave or under a rock for the past 2 weeks, you've heard something on the internet or on the news about a dude named Danelo Cavalcante, who escaped from a Pennsylvania prison and was on the run around Pennsylvania, living off of watermelon and stream water. For those of you that don't know, Danelo Cavalcante was a 34-year-old man from Brazil who spoke Portuguese and English. And around November 2017 is when they caught wind of him. He was known to have killed his friend because he lent his friend a car. His friend messed the car up, gave it back to him, never repaid him for the car that he messed up. So a good friend that Danelo Cavalcante was, he went and shot his friend in the street for everybody to see. Then he fled to a ranch that was about an hour away or so. He was already known throughout the neighborhood, being a bad guy, intimidating, down with gangs, having tons of guns, and just was an all-around great guy. His mom even said he grew up, impoverished and stuff like that. But I don't know if growing up in poverty and not having food equates to you murdering people. But I guess in some people's mind, I kind of grew up in a home where we didn't have everything. I didn't grow up to be a murderer. I grew up to be a podcaster and a streamer. So I guess everybody has their own goals that they try to achieve. Anyway, eventually, after killing his friend, he went to Puerto Rico. He got himself a fake ID that he used to flee to Pennsylvania, where he eventually committed another crime. This time, Cavalcante's victim was his ex-girlfriend, Deborah Brandio. She was 33, and it happened on April 2021. What had happened was from sources, they said he started out as a normal guy. He was, any relationship has arguments and stuff like that. But he became, over time, more and more and more aggressive and more jealous. And eventually she put an order of protection out against him. And he winds up, obviously, order of protection, piece of paper, they're not watching you all the time. He winds up rolling up to her, grabbing her by a hair, and stabbing her 38 times. And in front of her children, too, her 7-year-old son and 4-year-old, I do believe. So when he's stabbing her, she runs over, when he's stabbing Deborah, the child runs over across the street to the neighbor and starts yelling, "He's killing my mommy, please help me, he's killing my mommy, please, please, please." The neighbor said once they ran over there to go check her out, she was in bad shape. She went to the hospital, passed away. That's got to leave quite an impression on a 7-year-old and a 4-year-old. I can't even imagine what it would be like to grow up with this kid, having to see that over and over again, and what this kid actually goes through. This dude is a piece of shit. I know his mother said he's a nice guy, but your mother's supposed to say that. I think Jeffrey Dahmer's mother, or one of those killers' moms, said that they were a nice guy too. I guess beauty's in the eye of the beholder at this point. I feel like he's a real piece of shit. He killed the little kid's mom in front of the little kid. That's got to be traumatic. Could only imagine how this kid's going to grow up. Hopefully, for the kid's sake, the kid grows up well and overcomes having nightmares of that. He winds up stabbing her to death. She winds up dying in the hospital. And then he flees to, I think, Virginia, where he was captured 6 hours later after he was getting ready to flee to Mexico. So that was his deal. He was going to, get down to Virginia after doing this and then flee to Mexico and I guess live out in Mexico, which makes sense to some degree. That's quite a trek, but obviously that didn't happen because he was busted about 6 hours later in Virginia. Cavalcante was then convicted on first-degree murder in America on August 16, 2023, recently, about a month and change ago. And he was sentenced to life in prison with no possibility of parole. And again, his attorney had said that he was provoked, snapped, and killed her in the heat of passion. Which, again, I guess when you're getting paid to call a piece of shit, a cake, you'll do whatever it takes to make the money. No matter how much icing you put on shit, it's still just a piece of shit. It's never going to be a birthday cake. But I digress. So in the heat of passion, being provoked, I don't know how you would go about provoking someone to stab someone 38 times. I get being provoked sometimes, and sometimes, I get a little bit of hostility inside me. More of argumentative hostility, but not like that, where I'm like, hey, I think I'm going to kill somebody, stab somebody 38 times. So I don't know how that works out. So on the morning of August 31st, I think he was about to be transported, or he was supposed to be transported, because people were wondering how he got out, why he was in that place that he was. But I think he was getting ready, after his sentencing. I think he was getting ready to be sent to prison a day or two later, and he saw the opportunity, and I'll put the video for anyone who didn't see it, and the links will be in the description of this podcast. He winds up crab walking up the wall. Now, mind you, this is a 5-foot dude who's like 120 pounds with like boots on, and after like eating a steak dinner. He's a small little dude, but he crab walked up the wall. And for those of you that don't know what crab walking is, he did it a little differently. Crab walking usually is 1 foot, like a wall's kind of close, two walls are kind of close to you, and you put 1 foot, your left foot on one wall, your right foot on the other wall, and hand, kind of like a starfish, and go up the wall. But he didn't do it like that. He did both feet on one wall and both hands on the other wall, and he boosted himself out. Now, I don't know. I'm out of shape, so feel free to leave me a voice message. I'll leave, again, the phone number below, and let me know if you think you can crab walk. I think he crab walked something like 3 stories onto a roof that had tons of barbed wire. And he found out about this one through an inmate recently who had done the same thing and tried to escape, except the guard, when that guy tried to escape, found him, they tackled him, and they arrested him again. This time, Cavalcante got 3 stories up or 2 stories up. I could be wrong on how high it was, but it was pretty high, onto a roof with barbed wire. And the guard didn't see him. And, well, the 18-year guard has now been fired. You knew somebody's head had to roll. I mean, shit, you're a guard, you're supposed to guard people, and somebody just mysteriously vanishes. That's a problem. That's a big type of a problem. So again, in the comment section, in the description section, I will leave my number there, and you can leave a voicemail. Let me know how high do you think you can crab walk a wall? Not leg to leg to wall. I'm 2 legs on one wall and 2 arms on the other wall. And again, I will put the video in the description. You can tell me, how long do you think you can do it? And let me know if you're in shape or not, because obviously it's a podcast. I can't really see what you look like. I can tell you I look like a summer squash. What would happen if a summer squash got arms and legs? I am out of shape. Maybe back when I was younger I could do it, but I don't know. 3 stories, I'd be kind of afraid to try to climb up that high and maybe like slip and break my face on the floor. But I guess when you're in prison and you're looking at life sentence and going to prison, you're probably thinking about shower, booty sex, and anything's possible. So he winds up climbing the wall, getting over the wall, getting to the roof, and dipping off. And he was on the run for about 2 weeks, where he ate watermelon, he said. He drank from streams. So I was watching it on the internet and on the news, and I had like... I got feeds to scanners and helicopters. I was watching the helicopter feeds and live feeds of it. And a couple of the times they found him, they thought they found where he was. They would get people calling in, and they would track him. And he got through like a big 400 or 300 person perimeter. He wound up getting past that, wound up robbing a truck. I do believe a white ice cream truck, not like an ice cream, like and hey guys, ice cream, like a truck, a refrigerator kind of truck, or like a van, like a Ford van sort of deal. He wound up breaking through the cops' perimeter, left, and he only made it about a couple miles off of the prison. And the weirdest thing is that they found him on the Ring doorbell at a friend's house. Obviously, he lived there, so he knew the area somewhat, and he started going back to friends and former workers' houses looking for help and stuff like that. And you've seen him on like the Ring door cam and all sorts of stuff. What I started wondering was if he was trying to go back and find the people that testified against him, and the people that probably testified against him were probably worried as hell. I know they had said that the children were under guard and being watched by the police, so he wouldn't come back. But that's got to be a scary feeling if you testified against this guy, and now he's back out, and he's got nothing to lose. He absolutely killed people before, so there's 2 things off the table. I mean, right on the table. He's already killed people, and he's escaped, and he probably hates you guts. So I'd be worried as shit. But anyway, so he winds up robbing the van. He breaks through the search party, and then winds up a couple more miles from where he actually left and found the van, and that's where he rested for a couple of days. And eventually, listening to the scanner, you heard them. They cornered him. They said that they had a perimeter set up. There was a heat signal they saw the police set on the scanner, and you kind of knew. I kind of got the feeling when I heard that it was almost over. I kind of figured it was going to be him. Throughout the time, though, you've seen that he shaved his face. He wound up grabbing a book bag. He got some extra clothes. He shaved his face from a razor that he found in the book bag. He was casing people's houses out. He would rob them. He wound up robbing somebody's house, and they shot at him. And that's where he got the .22 rifle that he was rocking. He was armed with a .22 rifle, and then again, just on the run and just running around and just causing chaos. I could imagine what it must have been like to be those people in Pennsylvania, but I know a lot of them have weapons, so I mean, shit, he rolls up on your property. What would be the legal action if he rolls up on your property with a gun? You know he's a killer. You know he's killed before. He's an escapee. If you shoot him and you kill him, what happens? I don't really legally know what would happen, but I mean, shit, if you're on my property and I know who you are, I know you escaped and you have a weapon, I know you're armed and dangerous, I'm putting a hole in your head. I guess I'll have to worry about it a little bit later. And if anything happens, I guess I could crab walk out of that prison myself, Again, I probably am not physically fit. But I wonder what would happen if you shot him, like he came into your house. I think you'd get away with that. Then they started offering a $20,000 reward, it up to $25,000. Then you see people driving around on the news and on the internet with like guns on the sides of their golf carts, in their cars. I don't know if you could vigilante shoot somebody like they were saying. If I see him, I'm going to kill him. I think you'd get in trouble for that. I think if you busted in your house or it was in your property, you're allowed to shoot him. Again, I don't know the laws in Pennsylvania, but I would imagine if you're under threat by somebody who's escaped and known to have killed somebody, if you killed him in your house, you would probably be all right. I think. Again, I'm not a lawyer. Who knows? Don't listen to me. I'll have you kill somebody on your property, and you'll wind up going to prison and having a crab walk yourself. So people were just like driving around looking to get the money, but nobody really got the money. It only lasted a couple more days, and thankfully what happened was as the hurricane started coming in, and we had a couple of bad days prior to that, so he was probably, covering himself. They couldn't find him. So he had to be like in places and covering himself. I don't know how long you'd be able to run. I don't think you'd be able to run for 2 weeks straight without having sleep. So he had to have slept inside. He said he didn't get any help, and he said he was surviving off watermelon and river water, pond water, or stream water. So, I mean, he had enough food because all up there, it looked like it was all farms. So, I mean, it's pretty decent right now this time of year. I'm sure there's still stuff to eat. And obviously, stream water. There's tons of streams up there. But eventually, at the end of the day, at about 8:18 in the morning on Wednesday, which is today when I'm recording this morning, 8:18, they caught him. He was, again, they saw him on the heat signature. They knew where the heat signature was. They were kind of closing the perimeter on him and trying to lead him into the arms of other police. And he was supposedly hidden someplace. They let the dog Yoda go. Yoda got him, bit him in his head. Too bad he didn't bite him in his nuts like Stand By Me. Chopper, sick balls, But they wound up catching him and bringing him back. And he is now back in prison where he belongs. I do believe now he's in a different prison. He's not in the same place that he was where he escaped from. They actually put him into the place that he was going to finally going to. And he's back in prison. So I know his mother's a little upset. I know his sister wound up getting deported because she wouldn't want to help him, which is understandable. Listen, if you know where your brother is and it's not like your brother is not like a bad guy. He killed his girlfriend in front of her children. How would you feel? Like, let's think about it. If you're a sister, I understand. You're like, well, that's my brother. I don't want to tell on him. It's my brother. It's family. But, bro, if that dude wasn't your family and he stabbed somebody you loved in front of your children or in front of you, how would you feel? I mean, come on. You would have to tell on him. Let me know below. Maybe you wouldn't tell on him. Maybe you would help your brother out and then you'd be going to prison too with him. But she got deported from America. So let's hope this is the last we hear of him. I know his mother seems a little out there making an excuse for him. There's no excuse when you murder somebody. Let's be honest. You're just a bad person. I know you're supposed to be a parent. And again, like I said, Jeffrey Dahmer's mom stuck up for him when he was murdering people, which Jeffrey Dahmer was a splendid man, my Jeffrey. These people, I get it. It's your family and you don't want to, You don't know them. You know them as the little kid, or like who you knew them as. You don't know them as the raving lunatic who stabbed somebody 38 times. So I kind of get it, defending your family, but I wouldn't. I'm going to be honest with you. If you're in my family and you murder somebody, please don't come to my fucking house. Because if you come to my house, you're going to put me in a position where I have to tell on you. I am not going to prison. I am not fit for prison. I am not fit for crab walking. I am not fit for any of this. But that's it. He's back in prison where he belongs. Let's hope he does not get out once again. And all will be well. So I appreciate you guys listening to the podcast. I appreciate you followers that have been following the podcast. Feel free to drop me a follow. And like I said, everything will be in the description of this podcast. I will leave a phone number there if you want. Just tell me about if you think you can crab walk 3 stories high, or how far you think you can crab walk. Also describe me like what you are. Like, you don't have to describe like, hey, I'm Tom. I've got 1 nipple and I'm strong. Just be like, hey, I'm medium build. I'm pretty athletic. I think I could climb 3 stories easily like that. And then I'll just sit back like, fuck you. No. And you could leave and I'll check them out. And maybe when we do a recap on this, because I'll follow the court case, we'll add those in to the call. I appreciate you guys. Thank you again, and hope to catch you soon. Thank you for lending me ears. Bye-bye. If you would like to join in the conversation, call 1-914-512-8663. That's 1-914-512-8663, and leave a voicemail.